All right, so today, let's try something different. Let's look at our planet through a whole new lens. Instead of just seeing nature, what if we started thinking about Earth's resources as, well, an incredibly valuable portfolio of assets? Let's just see what happens when we start treating the planet like the ultimate blue chip investment it is. So this really is the big question for our whole conversation today. What if we actually treated our planet like a business? I mean, really, what would a strategic audit of its most valuable assets even look like? This idea, this planetary portfolio, that's the key. That's how we're going to really understand our natural wealth.
Okay, so using this business framework, we're going to take inventory of Earth's resources. But hey, this isn't just about making a list. It's about getting the true value, seeing how everything's connected, and, facing the risks that come with managing it all.
And, just like any investment portfolio, Earth's assets fall into two main buckets. And how we classify them, well, that basically decides how we should manage them if we want any kind of long-term stability and growth.
Okay, so here's the breakdown, and it's super important. First, you've got renewable assets. Think of things like sunlight and water. This is like our planet's regular income, right? It just keeps replenishing. And then you've got the non-renewable assets, stuff like minerals and fossil fuels. This is our fixed capital. It's like a finite inheritance. Once you spend it, it is gone, for good.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Nature gives us the raw materials, the basic assets. But it's us, our ingenuity, that figures out how to use them, how to unlock their value. But of course, with that kind of power comes a whole lot of responsibility. All right, let's kick off this audit. We're going to start with our renewable income stream. And first up is an asset we almost never think about, the very air we breathe. So take a look at this breakdown. It's pretty fascinating, right? Our atmosphere, this invisible shield around us, is mostly made of two really critical gases. That big chunk, 78% nitrogen, plants need that to grow. And that 21% oxygen, well, you and I need that for every single breath, and it's what makes fire possible.
But here's the thing about air. It's kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, moving air gives us clean wind energy. Awesome. But on the other, this exact same asset is incredibly vulnerable to pollution. And when you stop and think that you, personally, breathe about 22,000 times a day, the quality of this asset suddenly feels, well, pretty personal.
Okay, from the air we breathe, let's move on to our next renewable asset, water. And at first glance, you look at a globe and our planet seems covered in it. 97% is ocean water. But this picture right here, it shows you that's really just an illusion of abundance. Only 3% is fresh water. And as you're about to see, most of that is totally out of reach.
Get ready for this number, 0.03%.
Yeah, that tiny number you're looking at, that's it. That is the entire amount of water on this planet that's actually accessible for us to use. To drink, to grow our food, to build our entire civilization on. It's just a shockingly small amount when you really think about it.
And of course, here's the other side of the coin, the liability side of our water management. Farming takes the biggest slice of the pie for sure, but our own daily habits, they're incredibly wasteful. Get this, a third of us just leave the tap running while brushing our teeth. That wastes over 48 billion liters of water every single day. It's a massive amount of wasted capital, especially when you remember that 160 million people don't have access to clean water at all.
We can't really talk about renewable income without giving a nod to the ultimate source of it all, the sun. It's the engine that drives pretty much everything. It powers the water cycle, creates wind, and fuels all plant life through photosynthesis. It is clean, it's basically inexhaustible, and it's the foundation for almost all life here.
And finally, let's wrap up our audit of renewables with forests. You've probably heard them called the planet's green lungs. They cover about a third of the Earth's land, and they are these incredibly complex systems. They do so much for us, filtering pollutants, literally cooling the air, and holding the soil in place so it doesn't just wash away.
Okay, so that's our income. Now let's switch gears and look at the other side of the portfolio, our fixed capital. These are the finite treasures, the assets that do not grow back. And that means we have to be extremely careful with how we manage them. First up is something you might not think of as a treasure, soil. But trust me, it's way more precious than gold because it is the absolute foundation of our food security. And here's why we have to treat it as non-renewable. It can take nature up to 1,000 years. 1,000 years to create just one single inch of topsoil. We just can't make more on demand.
And this slide just perfectly shows you how fragile this asset really is. On one side, you see how wind and water can just strip away that fertile topsoil, turning good land into a wasteland. But on the other side, you see the solution. The roots of trees and plants, they act like a natural net, binding the earth together and stopping that catastrophic loss.
All right, next up in our fixed capital accounts, fossil fuels. And what are they, really? Well, you can think of them as literally ancient sunlight trapped in stone. It took millions of years of incredible heat and pressure to create them. It's like a geological savings account that we are draining in the blink of an eye. Just a couple of centuries.
And that right there leads us to the central dilemma of our modern world. Fossil fuels are amazing. They have this incredible energy density that has powered our entire industrial revolution. But that utility, it comes at a really steep price, weighing heavily on the planet's health. We're talking about huge liabilities like global warming from CO2 and acid rain from sulfur dioxide.
So, okay, we've audited the assets, we've looked at the liabilities. What's the path forward? Where do we go from here? Well, it's all about strategic portfolio management. We have to make a huge shift from just using our resources to actively managing them for the long haul.
And here are 3 core strategies we can focus on. For water, it's all about smart stewardship, doing things like rainwater harvesting to capture that income. For our forests, it means actively protecting them and planting new ones through reforestation. And for energy, it's about making a deliberate transition, moving away from that finite capital and towards cleaner, renewable sources.
Now look, this isn't just a job for governments or big corporations. The health of this whole planetary portfolio really depends on every single shareholder. And that means us. It means bringing this huge global idea right down to a personal level. It starts at home.
And the really good news? Our individual contributions don't have to be some huge, complicated thing. Simple actions, when millions of us do them together, have an absolutely massive impact. Fixing that leaky tap, washing the car with a bucket instead of a hose, carpooling once or twice a week. These are all real, tangible investments we can make in our shared future.
Because ultimately, that's really what this all comes down to. Thinking of the Earth as a portfolio of priceless treasures, it's more than just a clever metaphor. It's a fundamental mindset shift. Nature has given us this inheritance of just unbelievable wealth. So the final, critical question we have to ask ourselves is, how good are we going to be at guarding the vault?